if we look at the 7 things here, these are, in our opinion, the 7 things that you sort of need to do to get sort of fully through modern architecture deployment and realizing, most importantly, the business value from it. But that doesn't mean you need to do every one of these for every single piece of data you have all at once. So the key is sort of breaking it up. But just to talk about them first quickly, the one sort of overarching thing that you need is both conceptual and definitional data governance. So I'm not going to spend a ton of time talking about it, but having data governance to govern what you're doing is probably the best thing you can do in terms of the amount of effort to set data governance versus the amount of value that you get out of it. Because if you distill it down, there's obviously lots of ways to enforce and audit and everything, but if you distill it down, setting data governance is basically getting the correct people to talk to each other and agree on something and then execute towards that. So that's the thing you can do. It doesn't, regardless of any tool set or any use case or anything like that. That's the most important thing. And once you have sat down and had that discussion and agreed upon, this is our definition of a customer, this is our definition of a facility, this is our definition of whatever your key things are, and understanding how they relate to each other, that can unite your sort of organization moving forward. And I say organization both in terms of being organized and the entire enterprise organization. And once you have those key concepts in place, then you can move on to number 2, which is sort of technical modeling and project selection I'll talk about in a second. But now that we understand this is our definition of a customer, now let's talk about what are the multiple data sets that we need in order to capture all of our customers. How do we need to put those data sets together so we understand that customer 1, 2, 3 and Salesforce is the same as customer ABC and a different system. And that's what the technical modeling is what is the actual work required to execute towards the vision we've sort of set for ourselves. And then steps 3 through 7 are really the execution of the task to deliver the value that the business needs. So I'll go over these pretty quickly because Jordan hit a lot on these, but you need to obviously ingest the data, get it out of whatever the source is, put it into wherever you're going to keep it. Obviously, in Jordan's case and in our opinion, the best would be Snowflake in terms of a cloud data warehouse. Then once you have all of your source data in your warehouse, you need to transform it. You need to master it. Again, understand a customer here is the same as a customer there. You need to enrich it. And then you need to do whatever the outputs that the business needs are, whether that's just a simple tabular report, whether it's a nice dashboard, or whether it's a advanced analytics, data science, machine learning use case. Whether anything from a simple report to the most complex machine learning or AI use case is all dependent on the data that you have. Classic saying, I'm sure everyone's heard, garbage in, garbage out, right? So if we try and skip ahead and do step 7 first, then we're not going to get anywhere. So the first 2, having that sort of vision, the governance, and having some sort of modeling in place are what we like to call as table stakes. And then the rest of it, we can break down into different projects and prioritize. So from here, our question is, how do we create a go forward plan once we've had some of these sort of initial discussions? So if we look at breaking down each task and then figuring out what we can do when. So we like to use this concept of investment quadrants here. So this is what we would do anytime we're approaching a large project like an analytics journey, is here are all the different things that we have defined and we know we need to do. And now we're going to break them into bite-sized pieces and plot them on into these quadrants between impact and investment. So something in the bottom left, we're saying that's high impact, low investment. So it doesn't require as many resources to accomplish, and it's giving us a ton of value. That's obviously your low-hanging fruit, best case scenario. And something in the top right has a lot of, or is low value and takes a lot of investment. So it's something that's more in the nice to have category, but it's going to take a lot of work to get there. So then based on your use case and your journey, what's most important to your business, plot those projects on this into these quadrants, informed by the governance and technical modeling work that has been done, and then just go from there. So in this example, this is obviously a very generic example, but setting governance is almost always going to be your bottom left, your highest impact, lowest for the lowest investment task. Those initial discussions, agreeing upon terminology, all that stuff, that's sort of table stakes. So that's always down there. But we have some examples in here. We have, so one of our big initiatives in this example would be exploring our customer, creating like a, customer 365, complete view of the customer, whatever moniker you want to give to it. But that's obviously a huge project. Understanding all your customers and everything that they're doing is a very large project. So here we've broken it down into a couple pieces. So towards the bottom left, we see existing database. So maybe we already have a customer legacy database. Maybe it's a SQL Server or something, and we want to get that replicated into Snowflake and start doing some analytics on. That's easier to do. And then maybe to the right of that, we have Google Analytics that we're already using. We already have some pre-built reports and analytics there. So we can, again, get that data into Snowflake or our data warehouse and sort of replicate the data there and execute on those reports. And then in the top right, still on the customer project, we also have a ton of social media data about our customers, but it's unstructured data. Obviously, it's coming from multiple sources. We would need to get it from LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter and whatever else. And then we would need to structure it all so it can be used. And so that's a longer term project. And maybe for our business, we don't value that as much as our customer information that's in Salesforce, which is sort of in the bottom right, where there's a big amount of investment, but there's a bigger impact. So that's just an example. It's obviously super generic. So we would want to do this for any particular use case with a lot more specificity. I think that's a word. But you can sort of see where this is going. And this allows you to be able to break down very large projects into manageable chunks, and you don't do all these at once. So maybe this quarter we only have budget and resources to do X, Y, and Z, and next quarter we do A, B, C, and then eventually sort of get through it. So that's the approach that we sort of advocate on tackling such a large task as transforming your analytical infrastructure and environment, moving into modern architecture on the cloud and delivering business value from it.